Hi guys, I hope you guys are all good. I'm back with another video and today I'm showing you how to make classic lasagna. I think when we all think of Italian food, lasagna definitely comes to my mind. This recipe is very easy. I'm going to show you how to make it from scratch. Lasagna usually has three components. You've got the pasta, the cheese sauce, and a delicious meat sauce. For the detailed recipe, you can please visit my site, that's cookingwithshazia.com. The first thing we're going to do is work on the meat sauce. I'm going to show you everything we need for that. So let's get started. All right, so this is everything we need for the meat sauce: ground beef, diced tomatoes, tomato paste, and this is tomato sauce, along with some chopped onions, some olive oil. I'm using fresh garlic. I have a little bit of pepper flakes, red pepper flakes, and my powder spices, and a little bit of water and fresh parsley. All right, so let me go back to the stove. The first thing we're gonna start to do is saute the onions. So let's get started on that. All right, I'm using a good size large pot here. You can use a frying pan, but when the sauce starts to bubble, you get a lot of splatters. And I'm going to add the onions. I'm going to saute these onions for a few minutes. I don't want them to get dark golden brown, just a little translucent. And that will take just a few minutes. And then I will add the garlic and the red chili flakes. So this took a couple of minutes. Once your onions look like this, you want to add the chili flakes and the garlic. We're adding the chili flakes to the hot oil. That's when the flavor will come out. And you never want to cook garlic for a long time. It burns very easily. All you're doing is just kind of cooking the rawness out. I'm just going to give this a few more seconds and then I will add the ground beef. Okay, now I'm adding the ground beef. And then I will add all of my powder spices. This has oregano, parsley, basil, black pepper, salt, bay leaf. I'm adding fresh parsley as well. I'm just going to roughly break this up a little bit and then I will add the tomatoes. Just let the meat get a little seared. All right, now I'm going to add the tomatoes. First, I have diced tomatoes. Add all the tomato sauce. Hold on, let me get another spoon. It's just easier to. And here's the tomato paste. Now we're using diced tomatoes because you want you don't want the sauce to be really watery. When you cut the pieces of the lasagna, it won't hold its shape. And the tomato paste will also thicken the sauce as well. I'm gonna mix all of this really good. I'm just gonna continue to break the big lumps of the ground beef. Now I'm just going to add water, some extra water. I'm going to put this on medium low, and we are going to let the sauce simmer. All right, I think it's nicely mixed. If you don't like ground beef to be really chunky, you can just break it down as much as you would like. All right guys, the sauce is simmering. You want to make sure that you give enough time for this tomato sauce, meat sauce to simmer, because we're using diced canned tomatoes and canned tomato sauce and paste. And you really want to cook out that acidity of all the tomatoes. So the longer it cooks, it will give a very nice flavor in the sauce. So I would say anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. The next thing we're going to work on is the cheese sauce. So let me show you everything that we need for that. In this bowl, I have ricotta cheese. I have Parmesan cheese that I'm going to add to the ricotta, some salt and pepper, and I have 1 egg. I'm going to add it to there. Now, what the egg does is it will bind the cheese sauce with the meat sauce and the pasta. You can definitely leave it out. I don't think it's a big difference. I've left it out sometimes, but it is a good binder. Next, I'm just going to chop up some fresh parsley. If you don't have fresh, that's okay. You can definitely use some dry parsley. Okay, I'm gonna add it to this cheese mixture here and give all of this a really good mix. This is such a great dish if you're trying to cook for a good amount of people, because you can make it ahead of time and just keep it in the fridge, and when you're ready to bake it, you just bake it and it will be ready. Usually everybody loves it. It's definitely a crowd pleaser. Okay, this is mixed nicely. Now we're gonna go ahead and boil the lasagna noodles. All right guys, I'm gonna show you what the sauce is looking like exactly after 30 minutes. See, it's still very thin. We really want it to be a nice thick consistency. You do not want this sauce to be watery. So it's gonna go for another about 30 minutes. And just make sure it's not sticking to the bottom. Just give it a little mix, cover it back up. And I'll show you in a little bit. Here I have the pasta water boiling. I'm just adding a little bit of oil so the pasta noodles don't stick. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and put these in and just follow the instructions on the back of the box. So these are gonna boil. All right, once these are done, I'll show you how to put it all together. All right guys, I wanted to show you what your pasta sauce should be looking like. As you can see, it is not watery or runny at all. That's really important. Even if it takes you a little bit more than an hour to get rid of all of the extra water, that is okay. The time that's written on the recipe, it's just a guide for you to go by, but just gauge it, look at it, see how it is, and then accordingly, it may take you just a little bit longer or a little bit less, but this is what it should be looking like. All right, the noodles are done. I'm just gonna put them in this tray here that I've lightly sprayed so they don't stick. We already had the olive oil in there, so it shouldn't stick, but just in case. You can drain them all at once in a colander, whatever is easy for you. I'm gonna take all of these out. And if you really want to make sure they don't stick, you can just take a little bit of spray oil like this and then lay the other one on top. All right, I'm going to finish taking all these out. All right guys, we're ready to layer the lasagna. The meat sauce is done. We have that ricotta cheese mixture. The lasagna noodles are boiled. And for layering, I also have some mozzarella cheese and a little bit of extra Parmesan cheese. I'm just gonna pull out the bay leaves that were in the sauce, so nobody wants to bite in those. So the first layer will be of the meat sauce. And I'm using a 9 by 13 baking dish. You can use something a little smaller, probably nothing larger, because then you won't be able to make the layers. And sometimes in this size pan, I do 2 layers, but you can definitely do about 3 and 4 depending on how deep your pan is. So layer the meat sauce nicely and evenly. It doesn't have to be a thick layer, because remember, we're making like about, I think we're going to be able to get 3 layers out of this. And on top of this, we will lay down the noodles. All right. I think I need some extra here. Okay, next comes the noodles. And when you're boiling noodles, you can definitely boil like 1 or 2 extra, just in case any of them break. And in a 9 by 13, as you can see, it lines up perfectly. And then, you know, depending on what size you're using, you may have to cut some noodles so they can fit in the pan. Look at that. All right, now we're gonna add some of this ricotta cheese mixture. It's easier just to dollop it like this and then spread it. Now I'm gonna spread that. Okay. Now we'll top this with some mozzarella cheese and a little bit of the Parmesan cheese. If you like a lot of cheese, just add more cheese. If you like less, you can add a little less. And I don't really like using cheddar cheese in lasagna, just don't like the flavor. But if you definitely like it, you can use it. I'm just putting a little bit of mozzarella cheese because there is some in the ricotta cheese mixture. All right, next, another layer of meat. And now since you've got that cheese at the bottom, it'll probably just be easier. Same thing, you dollop it like this all across. And then you mix it. And it's okay if it kind of, you know, gets into the cheese mixture. So it's okay if it kind of mixes in with the cheese. All right, another round of noodles. Sometimes I have just made 2 layers. That's easy too. Of course, you don't get that nice height when you only do 2. So we're just repeating that same layers, cheese mixture. This recipe is definitely worth it. There's some few extra steps, but it sure is worth it. Okay, the layering is done. I'm just topping with some fresh parsley. This is gonna go in the oven and we're gonna bake it covered with some foil, and then towards the end I will uncover, take the foil off, and then we'll finish it off like that.